Hi everyone! In this video, I'd like to talk to you about something called a provisional waiver in immigration, an I-601A. I'd like to talk about what it is and what the process is, because we do receive a lot of questions on this, and we've actually helped hundreds and hundreds of couples with provisional waivers successfully navigate the provisional waiver process. And so in this video, I'd like to provide you with clarity about what it is and what the steps are in the process. So before I dive into provisional waivers, I'd like to quickly introduce myself and our firm. For those of you who are new to our YouTube channel, welcome. I'm attorney Megan Pastrana from Corrado Pastrana, the immigration firm for couples. And we are dedicated exclusively to assisting couples and navigating the immigration process. And we know how important it is for you to have educational information and updated information on everything that's happening in the world of couples, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We regularly post videos, and we also have a Facebook group, and the link is provided below. And last but not least, if you enjoy this video and the information that I'm sharing, please give it a thumbs up so YouTube will share it with other couples who can benefit. All right, so what is a provisional waiver? If you are watching this video, you might have already heard of a provisional waiver, and if not, no worries. I'm going to talk about what it is, who needs it, and who's eligible, and what the steps in the process are. And so you want to stick around because it's a lot of great information about provisional waivers, and I'll go into all of it and help break some of the myths and rumors and give you clarity about the process. All right. So to give you a little background, the easiest way to explain provisional waivers is to start out by talking about something called the INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act. And the Immigration and Nationality Act is basically the book, all of the laws in immigration. And immigration has a long list of problems that a person can have in immigration. All of that's found in INA 212, and that is just the section of the Immigration and Nationality Act that talks about what problems a person can have and whether or not that problem can be overcome. And so as immigration attorneys, part of what we do with our clients is we talk to you and get tons of information from you to make sure that you're eligible for the immigration benefit that you're applying for, and if you have any grounds of what they call grounds of inadmissibility, which is a fancy way of saying that you have a problem on that list, then our next step would be to decide whether or not a waiver exists for you to ask for forgiveness to overcome that issue. So we always hope that you don't have any issues on that list, but one of the common problems or one of the common issues that we see is that an individual who has entered the United States and who is in the United States without documents. So entering the United States without documents and being here in the United States without documents is one of the problems that a person can have on that list. And so what happens is if you've entered the United States and if you've been in the United States without documents, you're accumulating something called unlawful presence, which means time here without documents. And the more time you spend here without documents, the more issues that can cause in terms of your options for being able to apply for immigration benefits. So for individuals who have entered the United States and been here without documents for more than 180 days or for more than a year, they have something that they call a 3 and 10-year bar in immigration. And that is immigration's fancy way of saying that because of your time here in the United States without documents, you have to apply for a waiver to ask for forgiveness of the 3 or 10-year bar, which is essentially that you're not allowed to apply for an immigration benefit for 3 years if you've been here for more than 180 days, or 10 years if you've been here for more than a year. And so I know that's very scary to hear, but take a deep breath if you're in that position and know that that is what the provisional waiver was created to assist with in this issue of being here without documents. So the provisional waiver, the I-601A, is the application that we use to ask immigration to forgive that time here in the US without documents. Now, who's eligible to apply for that? Individuals who are individuals who have that issue. If you have a spouse or child if you have a spouse or parent that is a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident, you can ask for forgiveness of that, what they call a ground of inadmissibility of that issue. And so, as I had mentioned earlier, our firm is dedicated exclusively to assisting couples in navigating the immigration process. So typically, this is something that comes up. This waiver is something we apply for with our clients who are being petitioned for by their spouse or their spouse who is a lawful permanent resident or a United States citizen. And so if you have that issue of entering and being here without documents, then typically the solution is applying for a provisional waiver, and you would be eligible for that if you're married to a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident. Now, part of the provisional waiver process includes multiple steps. So the provisional waiver process, applying for the provisional waiver, asking for that forgiveness is only one part in the process. And so I want to talk about the steps in a provisional waiver case. What does it look like? And we typically like to break it down into 3 parts. That's a good way to kind of really understand what the provisional waiver is and the process that's involved. So the first step in the case when we're working with a couple is applying for a petition. That's the very first step, and that's the step where we ask immigration, or we don't ask, rather we show immigration that the two of you have a relationship based on love, a bona fide marriage. And after that petition is sent and approved, then the next step in the process is applying for that provisional waiver. And with the provisional waiver, as I mentioned, we would be asking immigration for forgiveness. And so with the provisional waiver, we make a very long argument about why you deserve to receive this waiver. And we have to show as part of the waiver that your lawful permanent resident spouse or United States citizen spouse or lawful permanent resident spouse would suffer something called extreme hardship. And we'll make a separate video on that because we could talk about the provisional waiver for hours, and so it'll be easier if we break that into a separate video. So we'll have that on our YouTube channel as well. But essentially with that second step, applying for the provisional waiver, we need to show immigration that your spouse would suffer extreme hardship, which is a fancy way of saying that they would suffer a lot, which is more than just financial hardship or being separated from each other. We have to be really creative and make an argument about why your spouse would suffer extreme hardship and also why you deserve to receive the waiver. So that's the second step. And once that waiver has been sent to immigration and then we wait on a decision, once the approval would come in that case, then the third step would be the counselor interview. That's a step where you would have to leave the United States and go to a U.S. embassy or consular interview abroad. And at that interview, then the officer would make their final determination about your eligibility and issue you a visa so you could re-enter the United States. The provisional waiver process is a complex process, as I'm sure you can tell from this long description. And so it's very important, because one of the parts in the process is that you have to leave the United States. It's very important that you receive legal advice to make sure that you are eligible for the provisional waiver and that you don't have any other issues on the list. Because when you leave the country to go to your interview, if you have other issues on the list that you haven't asked for forgiveness for, or other issues on the list that don't have an option to be forgiven, or there's not a waiver application, then you would be prevented from being able to re-enter the United States. And so I know that that's scary to hear, and I don't say that just to scare you, but just so you're aware of the risks involved with applying for a provisional waiver, that it's really important to get that legal advice, make sure you're eligible, and we can definitely help you do that. But that is a quick overview of what is the provisional waiver, who's eligible, and the steps involved with the process. And again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Facebook group, Immigration for Couples, if you're looking for additional support in the process, and that link is below. I sure hope this video helped give you some clarity, and thanks so much for watching.